as you can see here, these are the 14 tactics here. That is initial access, execution. Now, if I suppose, for example, if a threat actor want to perform some attack, so it can make it plan to execute them. So for initial access, it will find, yeah, I have some phishing using which I can gain the access, send some phishing email and gain access to the computer. Then after, I can use some execution, different execution techniques here available that can used. After gaining the access to the system, perform some attacks of privilege escalation. So if I have user to give us some root privileges, so what techniques that will used. So now here you see there are some techniques here. Now if I go in phishing here, if I open it here, you see there are 4 sub techniques within it, and there is a ID associated with this. This is the common standard IDs that being used by everyone. So common, as mentioned, common knowledge base. The different attacks is also here. Spear phishing attachment, spear phishing voice. So these are the within sub techniques here that an threat actor or advisory may use to plan its execution. And these are also used by who want to detect it, who want to know how a particular attack was performed or used. This is also used by threat detectors to know what was the plan of execution of an adversary and how they can make their environment safe against it. So this was about MITRE attack. Let's move on to next here is Atomic Red Team. Now, this is an open source, as I mentioned previously, a library of tests which is mapped to the MITRE attack framework. It's a small discrete tests which you can simply by executing a few commands execute those tests. Okay, let me just show you how it is. So this is again official repo of Atomic Red Team here. You can, as you can see here, this is mapped to MITRE attack framework. When I say mapped to MITRE attack framework, what I means is basically is now if I go here in this directory atomics, now you can see here there are different sub techniques number which we just saw here in the MITRE attack, the few IDs which are associated here. Now if I open any one of it, it contains a YAML file which contains the plan of execution that will be performed or used to perform this attack. Now here you can see this one is OS credential dumping. Now here our description is there on which platform it will be performed. Letter few commands here. You can see these commands to perform that attack. Target must be a domain controller, prerequisite, and again. So this is basically a plan of few commands and execution that will be performed, which you can simply use a command to execute this by specifying this number. So this is how it is mapped to Atomic, and you can perform any number of tests which is available here. Sub techniques. So you can generate a test data and create some rules against it so that in case of real scenario, you may get alert tested how response time, so that in how much time you are able to detect that attack. By keeping testing our environment, that's how we keep it safe. Okay, next.
Hello, Anurag.
Yes, Chirag.
Yeah, I have a question about the previous slide. What attacks can be performed with this atomic red team?
Right. So as I mentioned, since it is mapped to our MITRE attack framework, here you can see these are MITRE attack different frameworks. So whatever here, if I go in credential access, if I can see here brute force. So there are a few sub techniques in brute force as well, and as along with this number T1110. Now, if you can see here, this is also here. These numbers, the same matrix, hence it is mapped. So whatever is available in the MITRE attack, you can use that number to perform the attack.
Okay, got it.
It is there are YAML file within it which explain how it going to perform, how it will perform, what command it will execute, what if needed, what software it will download or install it. So in this YAML, everything is mentioned here. Thank you. Moving further, next we have Sigma detection. Now, I know I know I have some atomic using the atomic red team. I am framework. I am able to perform the test. Now, how will I detect it? What will be the basic condition that I will be use? So for example, let's consider the simple one, that brute force. To understand it, now brute force, I have to detect some number of failed login attempts. I have for detecting it, I have to capture this condition. So in Sigma detection form detection, you can see there are 3000 plus different rules here, and it is also open source and which is available to everyone. Let's see few examples. Okay, not this one, but this is the official repo of Sigma. As you can see here, different rules that are for generic detection, threat detection, imaging threat rules divided into three different types. A YAML is provided here, which using a Sigma converter such as Uncoder can be used for different platforms, Splunk, Rapid7, Sumo Logic, CrowdStrike. So, yep. So let's go over one example here. Okay, as you can see, this is I'm in the this directory Windows, and I'm seeing this process winlash PowerShell access.yml. Here in this, you can see this is the title, credential dumping attempt via PowerShell. Few tags are here. Then here are the detection condition. You can see source image must start with PowerShell. Target image must with this last.exe. This is the condition here. So it is specifying a rule here that can be understood by other platform. Now, if I want to use this in Splunk, so that I have a base query, base Splunk query, which I can build upon further class according to my need. So if I copy it and go over my uncoder here, I will just paste it. As you can see, detected, it's a Sigma. Now next I will select Splunk here. Right. Okay, so now as you can see, I have here that source must be win event log, that image which be PowerShell or this, and target. So I have a base query here, or you can say base condition, which I can, if I am not familiar with it. So now I know, yeah, there are something. If I'm familiar with it, but I don't know where to start, this Sigma can help me to make some base query using which I can build upon further. That's where it comes in the picture. So now we have seen three different here: MITRE, Atomic Red Team, Sigma. Now what Splunk Attack Range does, it's combine using all those things, utilizing them. It gives you one framework within which you don't have to go here and there, and just using one Splunk Attack Range, we can easily configure it, use them. So what do I mean here by? Okay, let's see the configuration pay here. Okay, so what happens is here my Splunk attack range will, there's few commands here which I'll use to build, simulate, test using Terraform and Ansible. So and also, so okay, before I'll move ahead, I'll just like to ask if anybody here is familiar with Vagrant.
Yes, Anurag. So
Okay.
Vagrant is a tool, I guess, for building and managing virtual machines environment in a single workflow.
Right, actually I was not but explaining, but yeah, it's correct, absolutely correct. Using Vagrant, VirtualBox, and this Terraform and Ansible scripts, what it does is whatever you specify, you will run this command, configure command, then it will ask you what do you want. It will install Splunk by itself. Then it will also whether you want a Windows Active Directory, Splunk SOAR, a Linux system, and when you specify them, it will install here. You can see in this diagram sysmon, Windows event log, OS query, purple sharp, and to populate the Active Directory with the dummy data or sample data, it uses bad blood. That is another which is used to provide some Active Directory objects, tree and objects, fill up with n number of dummy users. So yeah, so this is here. Let me just go back to its repo, Splunk Attack Range. Now, as you can see, this can be used with Docker, few simple commands in Docker. Now, if I want to install in my local machine or some other, then here we have another, this one link from the attack range itself, that AWS local. So suppose if I want to install it on my local, not on the cloud. So here it will be Vagrant and VirtualBox. I need as a prerequisite to install it. Now and some poetry to execute some commands. And after running this, configure this command right here. That Python attack range .py configure. It will ask me what machine, what different type of virtual machine you want. So what basically it does it will install using the VirtualBox and Vagrant a few virtual machines that will be used for simulating attacks. So it will have suppose Windows and Splunk. So on Windows it will perform the attack, and in the Splunk you can see those logs. So now when after installing, your window will look like this. So it will install a guacamole here. Yes. So this will be a guacamole using which you can open your application in the web browser itself. So here you can see I have used two machines, Windows and Splunk. So if I go in Windows here, you can see here in Windows, Splunk forwarder. Splunk forwarder. These software are mentioned in the Ansible and Terraform scripts that will be installed. So it has installed the Splunk forwarder here, connected it. I didn't have to perform write some output or output.conf some configuration. It was already done. And it also installed Atomic Red Team and Bad Blood here. As you can see, Bad Blood, this is the repo. Bad Blood fills up the Active Directory with the structure and thousands of objects, using which we can perform some attack or use those to detect something. Here, you can say Splunk is here, Atomic Red Team. Now my Splunk is also here. I just go in my OPT Splunk. All right, you see the Splunk is also installed here, 9.0.2 version. Okay, so these things are after installing, right? Okay, so I hope till I'm here, I'm clear. All right, so before, as I mentioned, it is easy to install, very performing. Yep. All right, everything covered here. Okay, so I'll set up a demonstration for you guys, a small demonstration here. So meanwhile, I set up the demonstration. I would request all of you to take part in our this small fun quiz. You can here scan this QR code, or just I'll share the link of this Slido, and you can just enter this code there. Just go on this link and just enter this code to join it, or just you can scan here this QR. Meanwhile, I am setting up the lab to show you the demonstration here. Just let's have some fun quiz meanwhile. My bad, sorry. I can see here you guys. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 2 or 3 are remaining. Let's wait for you guys for a few minutes. Please join. All right, we have 12 users here. Right, I think everyone's here.
Yes.
All right, let's start then. You will see on your screen the question. Please select an answer and we'll go ahead together. So correct answer is here white hat hacker. So we have 78%. Nice. Moving on to next quiz question. Yep, Flash owns the Splunk. Our favorite Scarlet Speedster. Moving ahead. We just discussed this. Right. So the correct is Windows Active Directory. The purple sharp only works on Windows Active Directory. We have Atomic Directory for Thala and few different other frameworks. Yes, correct answer is it is managed by Splunk Threat Research Team. Right. No wrong answer here. Everybody have a preference, but still. Yeah, I would also choose my password to be keyboard. Just kidding. Nope. Total number of tactics in MITRE ATT&CK. We have 80%, it's correct. We have 14 tactics and 200 plus techniques and more than 400 sub techniques within it. I do mind it, this one. This one might be a bit tricky. The mouse on your computer screen starts to move around on its own and click on things on your desktop. What do you do? I will run. Means I will literally run. Let's see the correct answer. Contact the IT help desk. But this is right. But if does start to move automatically, I will run. While like, what ghost is that? I'm not a ghost hunter here. Ghostbuster. Yes. What is the primary purpose of firewall? All right. So let's see. Whoever is cooking his or her favorite BBQ, please do invite us because 7% answer is there. Please do give us also invitation. Next up is what is phishing? Sport involving catching fish. Yep, it the correct is sending fake email to steal personal information that we just saw. It's a type of tactic in our MITRE ATT&CK framework based on which there are some steps in the red atomic team. This is the last one. Which is not a type of malware. Yep, chocolate chip cookie. All right, so with 10 out of 10, we have Nikhil, Chetan, and then we have Naveen, Prashad. Congratulations, Nikhil and Nikhil for 1.31 second. Awesome. Okay, this was the quiz. I hope you enjoy some funny quizzes here. Now I'm done with my setup. Okay, so let's recall a few minutes back. So in attack range, what happens when after we run this command build, when we run this command build, what it does is it will build the virtual boxes which we mentioned, Splunk, Windows, which we saw in the guacamole. Right here, this is the machine that it will run after running this command here, attack range build. Now, I ran here the command, next command, which is simulate. Let me just hope you can guys see this here. If you can't, let me know. All right, here my command is Python attack range. I specified the Python file, then simulate, and then here is ART that use the atomic red team. We can also see this command in the atomic red team document itself. Right. So if I go here, yeah, this one, you see this attack range. Using this command, I can simulate different types of tactics here. Like I say I've specified a sub techniques here. This one is 103.001. This one I think for the OS credential dumping. Then I'm specifying here my which framework to use. Either I can use Atomic Red Team or we can use this purple sharp here. Then the host machine that in this case is here Windows. Go back here. I've used the 110.003 technique that is for the brute force. Now, if you can see here, this is the amount of user it have ran and tested against it. So if I go a bit up more, after running this command, you can see this supplied credential is invalid. The account password, attempting password on account Jennifer Fletcher, Grant Hendrick, few n number of users using which a n number of failed attempts was there. See, it keeps on going, performs different mention users. I just ran one command and this using the Splunk Attack Range framework, it helped me to organize this. So gathering the fact and this, and from here it started attempting. You can see the first one was password spray all domain user, few sub techniques within it as well. Now if I go in the last, you can see this password spray invoke, then domain password attack. So this is just one example. You can use the different techniques here as well. This is password spray using Kerberos tool. Now, let me show you this in Splunk. Now, since Splunk was also configured here, this is my Splunk here. As you can see, there's 8000 port, and these are the apps or add-on which were installed. If you're using CrowdStrike, could use in some technique that will be also helpful for field extraction, data model mapping, those kind of thing. All right. Now, the one thing to note here is to detect or build some basic rule. We learned about the Sigma, but Splunk also provide its own Splunk security essential, using which it has n number of contents which we can use. Here you can see if I go here and there are contents and some queries within it which can be used for the basic purpose for basic detection on based again according to our customization or perfect rule we can modify those. But here are which creating. Now if I go in the basic brute force here, basic brute force detection, I have some accelerated data. If I have a data model which I have configured that has been accelerated, then I can use the tstat query here. Then I use a basic query which is just checking Windows log security event of this tag authentication, then checks whether the action was success or failure by the source. Then the condition is there, failure. Now if I just run this query, you can see I just ran this query for the last 60 minutes because that the attack was performed just. So I can see here my machine here, right? The Windows DC, that Windows one that was installed in the we saw in the guacamole there. So number of failure attempt you can see. So these things I can just perform an attack, create an alert here in Splunk. Then I can see in within what response time that alert was kicked off and the threat team was informed. So that response time can be reduced or improved, and our test in our environment, whether it was able to detect or not. If you have some patches, you can install the attack in there. So whether you can see if that attack can be performed there or not. So there are a number of use cases which we can think of using the Splunk attack range here. So you can see there was nothing much here, just few simple commands which we have to know and familiarize ourselves with some concept that is being used here. So we know how to do it. We just saw in this session the concept which was used by Splunk Attack Range and how it after configuring we can see in our guacamole here. Use the guacamole too also machines. If I have Splunk Soar or Linux, that will also be visible here. I can access from here itself only. And then using those commands of the attack range, I can perform the attack, this MITRE attack framework, that tactic number, that technique, that tactics or sub technique, perform it and detect it in my Splunk. Alright, this was for this Splunk attack range and this session. Right. Let me know if you have any questions here or any concerns or doubt. Meanwhile, I'll just summarize it up. We saw about the MITRE attack. What is MITRE attack? Atomic red team, purple sharp. What are those and how Splunk attack range utilizes them to help us detect some threats and techniques using a few simple commands, and how we can create an alert and detect those things in our Splunk environment. So this recording and all the things used here will be available on the event page. You can go and check those as well. In case you missed something or you just want to revisit the whole session, you can also reach out to us on our Slack group. All right, the floor is yours, guys. If you have any question. I do want to mention one thing, that Splunk part is by default installed by the Splunk attack range when you specify Windows, Linux, Splunk SOAR, but the Splunk is by default. We don't have to specify it separately. That we just saw. All right, guys, if no question, then I would like to wrap it up.
All right. Thank you, Anurag. I
I
guess if there are no questions, let's assume that everything went well, everyone understood,
yes.
assuming. Okay, so like I extend a heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker, Anurag here, for delivering such an insightful and engaging presentation. So let me introduce myself. I'm Ajit Nayak, today's host and the part of Splunk Mumbai user group. So I'd like to like to thank all of the participants for the. I don't think there was any lively discussion, but the quiz which happened, it was awesome. Anurag, thank you for that. And let me stress this part. We are always on the lookout for new speakers to share their knowledge and experience with the community, the Splunk user community. If you're interested in presenting at any upcoming session, uh, please let us know. This is a fantastic opportunity to showcase your expertise. That's it. And thank you, Anurag, and thank you all of you too for joining for this evening. Have a great day and a fantastic evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, team. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, sir.
Nice job. Yeah.